Is expected to follow across the country. And here at home, reactions pouring out after that disturbing incident in Michigan from Jewish community leaders.
We are hearing from them as they call for the community to unite and condemn these violent attacks. News specialist Garna Mejia joins us live with more. Garna?
Yeah, Debbie, Dan, the message from Jewish community leaders here is simple. They are calling for unity and peace at this time, saying that they need people to come together to condemn hate in all its forms, saying that an attack on one group of people is really an attack on everyone. Now, we spoke with Alex Shapiro of the United Jewish Federation of Utah and Rabbi Avremi Zippel of the Chabad of Utah. They watched those images from West Bloomfield, Michigan, showing the Temple Israel synagogue where a preschool is also housed and which today became the scene of this very violent attack. The worst part, they say, is that they were not surprised to see this with the growing incidence of anti-Semitism across the country and even here in the state of Utah.
That's why I feel strongly that the faith community, our civic community, people of goodwill everywhere should really condemn this, because it's not just an attack on a synagogue, it's really an attack on all of our freedoms.
It's got to lead to a point where just everyday folks, men and women, acknowledge the insanity of the world that we live in and express that desire to want to make it stop.
Both the Chabad and the Jewish community centers have daycares, and both leaders say they've had to consider those very worst case scenarios here and what they would do. Earlier this year, we reported on a man charged with making anti-Semitic threats online and found with a stockpile of homemade bombs at home. Jewish leaders also telling me that we just can't allow ourselves to become desensitized to these types of acts and must stand in shock and horror every time they occur, so that we are willing to stand together. Now, coming up at 5, they both talked to us about security measures that they're having to take to protect their synagogues and their community centers. I'll share those details, like I said, coming up at 5 o'clock. For now, I'll send it back to you.
All right, good perspective, Garna. We'll talk to you later. Thank you. A driver is recovering on Live at 5.
We continue to follow a developing story at the Rio Tinto Kennecott mine. Sully County Sheriff's Office is investigating a deadly incident that happened there this morning. Chopper 5 taking us above the scene where deputies say a man died in an industrial accident. Right now, investigators haven't released any details about how it happened or his identity. In a statement, Rio Tinto says it is also conducting its own investigation, adding that the safety of their employees and the public is top priority. We will continue to follow the story as it develops and bring you updates as soon as we get more information.
Utah leaders are once again pushing to end that controversial twice-a-year clock change. Congresswoman Celeste Malloy says there's no good reason for daylight saving time anymore, and she's urging Congress to pass the Daylight Act. That would let states stay on daylight time year-round. Utah already passed a trigger law back in 2020 to make the switch permanent, but that can't take effect until Congress does something about it. For now, Malloy says national issues are delaying progress, even as people here in Utah keep pushing for an end to daylight saving time. A push to protect Utah.
Live and stream. This is KSL News.
A car came to the facility, breached the facility by driving into it, was engaged by security. We believe there is one individual deceased in the vehicle. It's been complicated because there was some fire, to say the least, with that vehicle.
Police in Michigan say the suspect in a synagogue attack is dead and they have no victims. This happened at Temple Israel. It's a Detroit suburb just minutes away from the Grand Blanc Church that was attacked by an anti-LDS attacker last September. Well, that attack reverberating through the Jewish community here in Utah today.
News specialist Garna Mejia is tracking reactions for us from Jewish leaders here in the state who say we all need to come together to condemn this violence. Garna.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Dan and Debbie, we received this statement from the United Jewish Federation of Utah saying in part that this deliberate targeting of a place of worship is profoundly alarming. We're also hearing today from the Chabad of Utah who say that we can't allow this type of violence to become commonplace. We can't become desensitized to this. The Jewish Federation telling us that today's attack in Michigan appears to be yet another example of the rising climate of anti anti-Semitism in our country and recent violence that we've seen against other faiths, including last September's attack, also in Michigan at that Latter-day Saint meeting house, which is just 45 miles away from where today's incident at Temple Israel Synagogue happened. The two attacks appear to share similar characteristics, like the suspects ramming their vehicles into the buildings, then shooting as a fire erupted. Alex Shapiro saying that it is time to call for peace, saying as a country, we need to come together.
This is happening. Right? As a country, we should be able to come together to pray in peace at the very least, regardless of who we are and how we feel.
The fact that there was also a preschool on site. There were dozens and dozens, from what I understand, of small children who were just going about their day. These are preschoolers. These are not political activists.
That was a Rabbi Avremi Zippel of the Chabad of Utah. He says it's a sad day when children are also targeted, as we saw today in Michigan. That synagogue houses a preschool. Gratefully, it appears that staff and security guards were able to shield and protect those little ones. Now, here in Salt Lake, both the Chabad and the Jewish Community Center also have daycares, and they've invested a great deal, they tell us, in safety measures with private security and even support from local law enforcement. As we come back on camera, you guys, I want to show you just what the reality is today. These are just surveillance systems that were put in place by the Salt Lake City Police Department, both at the Jewish Community Center and here. And actually, Rabbi Zippel telling me that the first call he got today, as all of this was unfolding, was from the Salt Lake City Police Chief, wanting to make sure that he was okay and wanting to see if there was anything that officers could do to reassure the Jewish community here in Utah. Both leaders tell me that they're grateful for that local law enforcement support. In Salt Lake, I'm Garna Mejia, KSL-5 News.
All right, Garna, thank you. 13 days into the Corey Rich. Shelby, thank you. The Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office is investigating a death at Rio Tinto Kennecott. They say 37-year-old Brian Camelli died at the Bingham Canyon mine this morning in what's called an industrial accident. Deputies say Camelli was working on a piece of heavy equipment when a large piece of it came off and hit him. Deputies say the worker died at the scene, and they're looking into the exact details of what happened.
A Utah rideshare driver is...
than it was just 1 month ago.
One trip to the hospital, two identical bills.
A Syracuse woman says she is being double billed for that, but when the hospital insisted that the bill be paid again, she decided it was time to get Gephardt, and Matt Gephardt began investigating.
Oh my gosh! My eyes had almost swollen shut, had a hard time breathing.
A year ago January, Tanya Shield had a nasty allergic reaction and ended up in the emergency room. For their services, the hospital was paid. 9 months later,
Because in September, I'm thinking this is going on forever.
that's right, Tanya has been notified by her insurance company that the hospital wants to be paid again, something that her insurance company, of course, is not inclined to do.
And they're trying to get me to pay a duplicate bill.
So instead, now the hospital is coming after Tanya on that denied duplicate claim.
And they threatened to send me to collections. I've never not paid a bill.
Tanya says she cannot seem to get the hospital to see their mistake.
It doesn't matter how many times I've talked to them, the insurance company has talked to them, we've done three-way calls and everything. I don't feel like they're listening.
Not wanting to pay nearly $900 for a bill that's already been paid, Tanya decided to contact somebody who does listen, the KSL investigators. We looked over Tanya's statements and explanations of benefits. The dates match, the amounts match, even the codes match. It sure seems these are duplicates. So this time, the KSL investigators reached out to Common Spirit. That's the owner of the Holy Cross Hospital Davis here in Layton. And we didn't go through the billing department, we went through the corporate PR department. And we got a different answer. In an email, a spokesperson acknowledged a discrepancy and pointed the finger at her insurance company, writing, "Our billing team reached out to the insurance company, but unfortunately it took some time to receive the updated information from the insurance company."
I don't want it to ruin my credit because someone else isn't listening.
They have that updated information now. The hospital says Tanya's balance has been adjusted to $0. And after months and months of back and forth, Common Spirit says that they got that updated statement from the insurance company exactly 1 day before we reached out to the hospital group. If you got a problem you can't solve, give me a shot at it. The number 385-707-6153, or you can email me, matt@ksl.com.
Wow, what great timing, Matt. Thank you.
Well, we're looking at